Everyone. Oh, you don't sound excited at all. Let me introduce myself. My name is Elliot Serrano. I am the Geek Features columnist for the Chicago Red-Eye. And Geek to me, thank you to my one fan. Thank you. I have the distinct pleasure of being along on this crazy ride called the Star Trek Captain's Panel. And I am not going to waste a lot of time. I'm just going to jump right into it. Woo! I asked the gentlemen what order they wanted me to go in, and there was a they fought back there. And Shatner fights dirty. Okay. That's the way it is. First, I'd like to introduce to you the man we all knew as Captain Jonathan Archer on Enterprise, Scott Bakula.
The other guys couldn't make it, so it's just me.
All right! Woo!
I'm sorry that they couldn't be here today, but that was the shortest introduction ever. But I like that, though. It was good.
You said you didn't care.
I didn't care. And now, back to you.
Next up is a philosopher.
Oh, maybe you think
A teacher, a poet, a professor. He is a man of few words and a man of many. And he's the only guy who ever punched you in the face. We all knew him as Captain Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks.
Wait a minute. Is this on? You can hear me. See, it's just much better when you just say a person's name. You know, philosopher. Oh Lord, that's exactly what I said.
And finally, I forgot who's left. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
There we go. See what I mean?
You know, I'm going to say it like this. Doctor Who fans say they have their doctor. Well, this man is my captain. You've known him for many roles. T.J. Hooker. The Negotiator.
Yeah!
Jenny Crane.
Yeah! Woo!
But we love him as Captain James Tiberius Kirk William Shatner.
We were wrestling as to who was going to go on first and second, right? So I grabbed each one of these guys by the balls and...
He does fight dirty.
That wasn't dirty. So here we are, Elliot.
Elliot, the moderator.
Elliot the moderator. That's what he's known at home as. No, dear, I don't want to do that. Children, this is the way we're going to go. Right? Elliot the moderator.
It's eerily accurate the way you're describing it.
Eerie.
I warned you not to bring him out.
What we're going to do is we're going to... I actually, being kind of a Star Trek fan myself, I had a couple questions I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, before we get into the audience Q&As. I've been asked to not ask really personal questions.
Get on with it, Elliot.
That means if I can't ask him, no one else can. All right? I'll cut you off if that happens. But I'm just curious, before we get into Star Trek, each of you are known for a lot. And I just have to know. First, Scott?
Yes.
Where's Sam Beckett now?
Woo!
Did he ever make that leap home?
He's still out there putting right what once went wrong.
Yeah! Woo!
And believe me, there's a lot of work to do.
Especially in wheat.
Mr. Shatner.
Yes,
If I may ask,
yes, moderator.
in your own head, in your own mind, what are Denny and Alan up to these days?
Oh, love it.
Trying to do something with the DNA of wheat. Well, that seems eerily nonsensical, right? But in fact, it harkens back to a discussion that Scott and I were having about the DNA of wheat and how it's been misused and how we have fed the world the wrong kind of wheat and how we can't get back because there's no more real wheat. And that's what I've been dealing with.
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to put this as delicately as I can.
Hurry.
Because I saw The Captains. Yeah,
Woo!
direct film where Mr. Shatner interviews all the other captains in the franchise. And Mr. Brooks, honestly, did you have anything to drink before he showed up? Because you looked really happy at that point.
You're in deep shit now. When you get that book, moderation is not an option.
All right, into the real questions here. Each of you have...
May I add
by all means.
that this man gave one of the great interviews
He did.
of our time. And it was unique, and it was solely him, and it was beautiful.
Not to mention all the music. Let's not forget
Yes.
Let's
that.
not forget the music.
May I ask you two to do another duet? I was hoping for You Don't Bring Me Flowers.
Woo!
Scott, let's get on with it.
He's talking about you and Avery.
I know. But the audience is like, there's a puzzled look on their face.
We should get mine.
I'm just really scared of Avery right now.
Well, you should be. And I'm going to sick him on you. And when I say sick, I mean sick.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I know. You gentlemen have had some storied careers in and out of the Star Trek franchises, and you've all been part of the franchise through different periods of its development. I'm wondering if any of you had some sort of reflections that you'd like to share about how it was. I know, Scott, you were technically at the beginning of the story. Yeah. How did it feel, when Enterprise came to an end?
When Enterprise came to an end, we were saddened. We were disappointed, obviously. We felt we'd really kind of hit our stride the last 2 seasons especially. But, I would never have taken the job if I had to follow these other fine captains into the franchise world. The only reason I took it was because I didn't have to follow them. I was 100 years ahead of them. Now that doesn't, if you really think about that, it doesn't make sense. But actors have funny ways of making things work for themselves. And that worked for me. It was like, oh good, I don't have to study up. I can just go out and roll the dice and let it happen. So I was thrilled to be a part of it. I'm still thrilled to be a part of it, and the icing on the cake has been to get to know these gentlemen and Patrick and Kate over the last few years. We're all uniquely different, and yet we all kind of held the same job, and it's just been a true joy.
Woo!
Mr. Brooks, with Deep Space Nine, you had, there was a lot of pressure on you guys to kind of continue the legacy that was established by Next Generation. You were also competing with Voyager, but a lot was said by the Star Trek creative team that the themes and the way that Next Generation was done would reside within Deep Space Nine. I mean, how do you feel the show was developed during your tenure?
Well, I think from what I understand about the people who created it, it was a challenge because to some great extent it was very different than anything that had gone before. Certainly that it was character driven, that there were so many people to take care of weekly, that in fact it looked more like the way we are than a projection and allegory about the 24th century and the subjects that we had to address, how we are, what we haven't fixed. And so to some extent, I think the challenge was to get the people to care, especially about Cisco, because he didn't want to be there. You see what I mean? So the challenge is, well, why should we care if he does not? So I think, though in some ways, because they took this turn, if you will, to discuss science fiction, and indeed, you know, knowing that somebody's going to say, well, this is not the Star Trek I know. The fact that they were willing and talented enough to take that kind of turn was, I think, ultimately rewarding, in the sense that, you know, the people still talk about the shows as much as they talk about, you know, the original Mr. Shatner. And that's the test of it, isn't it? In some form or another, what is classic. Part of the test of classicism is who's talking about it. See?
Deep. I think.